welcome to the BEASTwriter Family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we are breaking the news that was reported earlier today that John Madden had passed away at the age of 85. And it was really one of those things where I was at the gym earlier, going on another live stream, and then going to the gym, and here we are back on. But during that break where I was at the gym, there's literally people coming up to me and saying, "Hey, did you hear the news about John Madden?" And I'm looking at it and like, yeah, I heard the news. It's terrible. And I was actually tweeting some stuff out from the gym, and the impact that John Madden had on so many people is crazy, because at the end of the day, it's like we can think of John Madden, and the one thing that John Madden to someone may be John Madden to someone else in terms of like what he's best known for. It could be video games. For us that are growing up, I can always remember Madden in terms of what he brought to the table was back in when Sega Genesis came out. For those who don't know Sega Genesis is one of those games or consoles that was out before Super Nintendo. It was Sega Genesis and Nintendo, and then Super Nintendo came out, and then they had the Sega Dreamcast, and then they had Nintendo 64. You guys get the, and then PlayStation came about, but and then PlayStation brought out Game Day. If you guys remember Game Day, who remembers Game Day? Game Day 1999, I believe it was. But no, getting back to the Madden series, that's one of the things that Madden is known for, is the Madden game. You know, when you think of John Madden and you say, "Hey, I'm gonna go play Madden," everyone knows what you're talking about, right? It's not a football game in person; it's a video game. Madden NFL, right? We remember Madden from the EA Sports series, and it was one of those things that I used to play. I used to go over to my cousin's house and watch it, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way about that. In terms of what you guys are doing, in terms of sorry, that was from a coach, but what you guys were doing in terms of like during that time frame, like Sega Genesis. I remember playing Madden, and then there was a game called Golden Axe. If you guys remember what Golden Axe is, then you guys know how old I am. That Golden Axe, people are like, "What's Golden Axe?" But we have some comments here. Rest in peace to the legend John Madden. Yes, rest in peace, John Madden. Absolutely. And again, this is celebration of his life. And I know it's a tough time here, especially here in the South Bay and here in the Bay Area, because he's a Bay Area kid, right? He went to school at Jefferson High School. A little background, right? Went to school at Jefferson High School, but moved out to Daly City before that, and went to Jefferson High School. Then played his ball at Cal Poly, and then Cal Poly. Before Cal Poly, went to College of San Mateo, and then played his ball at Cal Poly. So he did that, and he kind of worked his way up the ladder, and then from there, hey, everything comes full circle, I guess. I mean, here he is. And no, it was funny. I was watching KPIX and Chron, if you guys are here in the South Bay, and they're kind of going in chronological order. John Madden's time frame of how he got to where he is today, and so forth. But they left out San Diego State. Like they said, oh yeah, he grew up in Daly City, and then he went to Jefferson High School, and then he went to College of San Mateo. Okay, Bay Area, you feel it. And then he's like, oh yeah, then he went to Cal Poly, so slow for all the people who went to slow, Cal Poly, Okay, we're getting somewhere. And then he went to, got his big break at being a head coach at Allen Hancock, okay. And then they went straight from Allen Hancock to the Raiders. Hello, he was the defensive coordinator of the freaking San Diego State Aztecs. In between that time, how can you leave that out? Like, he was the DC. That's kind of like part of it, bro. Big whiff. What a diss to the Aztecs fan base. And I was very upset about that, because I went to San Diego State. Go Aztecs. But in all honesty, I was like, whoa, how can you leave that out? Seriously, though. You outline his life and the things, and then you leave out San Diego State. He was a DC at San Diego State before he became the Las Vegas Raiders now, but the Oakland Raiders, right? Linebackers coach, if I'm not mistaken. So, then he went on to climb up the ladder there internally, and then he became the youngest head coach in the entire NFL at the young age of 32. Crazy. But how can you leave out San Diego State? Come on. KPIX or Kron or whoever left. I forgot. I just watched it like 10 minutes ago before hopping on. I'm like, they're going to say San Diego State. They're going to give us a shout out. They're going to say San Diego State. And, where's San Diego State? No? Okay. I bet you Kyle Turley's upset. I bet Leroy Glover's upset. I bet Marshall Faulk's upset. I know I'm upset. Tony Gwynn's upset. Kawhi Leonard's upset. I'm joking, but how can you leave out San Diego State? Anyways, back to John Madden. Hey, John Madden has been known for a variety of different things. Like I said, the Madden series is awesome. Now, I will say this. Madden was good up until NFL 2K came out, and then the NFL had sold their, or EA, NFL sold their rights to video games and who can make their video games because it's licensed. And all of a sudden, EA Sports brought out the license, and so they kind of, sorry, NFL 2K. NFL 2K was way better than Madden. I'm serious. Anybody who says otherwise, you do not know football games. NFL 2K was the standard, and then it was made by Visual Concepts. If I'm not mistaken, it was made by Visual Concepts, and EA was made, I think, during the Nintendo 64 days by Tiburon, which is I think it's based in somewhere here in California. I want to say Redwood City or somewhere in there, but I know EA Sports is based out of Redwood City, headquartered there, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, Tiburon, and then you had Visual Concepts, and then I was like, oh, NFL 2K is so much better than Madden. I'm going to get NFL 2K. And we all remember with Brian Urlacher on the cover, right? I think that was 2004. I believe it was 2004 or 2003. But once the NFL 2K launched, I was all on board. I was all on board with the NFL 2K because Madden was just an updated game of rosters with little to no substance in terms of quality. It was like dubbed down quality, just updated rosters every single year. And then you had NFL 2K, which had a nice pregame show with Chris Berman. They had the soundtracks. They had the dynasty mode. They had everything that you wanted in a video game, and they kept upping the ante. And then they undercut EA Sports. Again, if you guys want to know what happened with EA Sports versus NFL 2K, my NFL 2K is no longer alive. Well, they came back, obviously, but they can't make NFL simulated games. They can make NFL games, but then it can't be a simulated game. So that's why they had All Pro 2K, I believe it was, but I think that was like Legends or something like that. That didn't pan out. But I tell you what, if NFL 2K put a series, if you're watching this NFL 2K, I am a huge supporter of you guys. If you guys can put out a product, I don't care, it doesn't have to be NFL license or not. I would buy that game because you guys can take it to the next level. Just have fictional teams. Just have fictional teams all the way around. Because EA Sports and not John Madden, but Madden and EA Sports has been... I haven't bought Madden in years once NFL 2K came out. In fact, when they died, that product is still better than the Madden today. And that was like, what, 10 years ago? I mean, go on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel. I think it's called Sports Drink TV or something like that. Go raid that channel. Legit. That channel is legit. I think it's called Sports Drink TV. They break it down and find details exactly what went wrong with Madden and what went right with NFL 2K. And why NFL 2K basically put Madden to the test and was a better product. In fact, their game was only $19.99. And I think, if you watch that little documentary, I guess you can say, they were saying, oh, like EA got scared because not only are they undercutting and doing predatory pricing, but they're also putting out a better product than Madden series. I would 100% agree. So if NFL 2K or Visual Concepts or whoever's making those games, if you can make a fictional character style of football game with 32 different teams, create your own teams, create your own stadiums, create your own logos, numbering, lettering, font sizes, helmets, decals, and then have a front office with full-on front office with the GM, the vice president of player personnel, fictional characters, of course. I mean, you can't have Jason Light or you can't have Mickey Loomis, but then make your own. Create your own GM in a dynasty league. I'd be all for it. Hey, I'd be I'd be like, this is not a paid promotion, but this new game that was brought out by Visual Concepts is dope. Anyways, That's what Madden is known for, the video games, and then it comes down to the All Madden team. These are things that I pointed out on my Twitter, right? Top 5 things that I remember as a child growing up when it comes to John Madden. The All Madden team, that was awesome. I was always looking forward to the All Madden team. I had no idea what he looked for, but I was like, dude, it's John Madden. He must know his stuff. And he does, obviously. It's John Madden. And I was like, oh man, that's really cool, man. Like the All Madden team. I was always looking forward to the All Madden team. And then it doubled down on those games. Every time Thanksgiving rolled around, it always brought me to the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions or the Miami Dolphins or the Dallas Cowboys, they always played on Thanksgiving. I remember as a kid going to family gatherings over in the city, and we would watch football games on Thanksgiving. Obviously, that was a family tradition. I think it is for a lot of people here that live in America. And so one thing I remember was the Thanksgiving halftime show. The Thanksgiving halftime show was awesome. We have Tyler on here. Tyler, how are you doing today, man?
I am well.
Are you there?
Yeah. What's up?
I can barely hear you. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Oh, I can hear you now. There you go. It was my end. I have to turn it up. How you been, bud?
Been pretty good. Yeah, we lost Mr. Madden.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he is the namesake of the greatest video game franchise of all time, so
Yeah,
pretty important.
pretty important. What do you think of NFL 2K, though? Did you like NFL 2K or did you like Madden?
Madden.
You like Madden more than NFL 2K. Interesting.
Yeah.
Why did you like Madden more than NFL 2K?
Because I never played NFL 2K, so I can't form an
Ah,
opinion.
how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
20?
Oh, you're young. Okay. So yeah, before, yeah, you would never have heard of NFL 2K at all.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you're like, what the hell is this kid talking
Yeah.
about? Okay, so that's how old I am. Okay, so that's how you know I'm old. NFL 2K, NFL 2K came out, and it literally, there's a thing by Sports Drink TV. I suggest you look at it on YouTube, and then it breaks it down exactly what went wrong with Madden and what went right with NFL 2K and why Madden got so scared. I shouldn't say Madden as if it's him, but EA Sports got so scared that they had to buy out the rights of the NFL. But it is interesting. But yeah, Madden is a great game overall. I remember buying Madden up until that point. I remember the Eddie George. There was a commercial with Eddie George on it, and the EA Sports saying if it's in the game, it's in the game. And then you saw Eddie George being the front line of when it was transitioning to PlayStation 2, and it was just ridiculously accurate how everything was modelized. And I liked how by playing the game of Madden, you can actually learn and appreciate the other 31 other NFL teams, because it forces you to play the role of GM, even though we had no idea what the hell we're doing. I mean, but we're like, oh yeah, you can buy that player. Oh, you can trade that player. Okay. They accepted it. Oh, cool, man. Now I have this player on my team. It's like, whoa. In real life, would that happen? No, but in Madden, you could do it. So I thought that was pretty cool. And it really gave me some appreciation for the NFL in general, because I think we get so sidetracked by consumed by our own favorite team that we lose sight of, hey, there's other teams and other players out there who are just as good. What if we had those guys on our team? And then came fantasy. Before fantasy football, it was Madden, right? There was no such thing as fantasy football back when we were growing up. So that is interesting. What is your favorite moment of John Madden growing up, or what do you remember most about John Madden?
Well, I actually don't really. I mean, really, all I know him for, all a lot of people know him for, is the NFL games. But I think
Yes.
he was an announcer, right?
He was. So yeah, so I was talking about that a little bit. So he grew up in Daly City, and then he went to Jefferson High School here in the Bay Area, and then he went to Cal Poly, played his football. Went to college at San Mateo first, played ball there, then got recruited to Cal Poly, played ball there, and then from there he went on to Allen Hancock. I think he was coaching there, and then went to San Diego State, and then became a coach. And then after a coach with the Raiders, became the youngest coach of the Raiders, won a Super Bowl with them. And then after his playing days were over, then he went on into broadcasting. And I thought that was interesting, because you can be the greatest coach or the greatest player, and you can be a horrible broadcaster. I mean, there's just because you're good at something doesn't mean you be good at something else. I mean, that's two different industries that you're tapping into. And that's why I think in today's society, it's like yeah, people are, oh, like, is XYZ going to be a good announcer? Well, just because he played the game at the highest level doesn't mean he knows how to analyze film or, you know what I mean? Break down stuff. He might have done it at the highest level, but seeing it from another lens is a totally different viewpoint. So, yes, and to your point, he was he did it all, and he did it all really well. So, yeah, you're young. You would not know. But Madden, do you still play Madden? You're only 20 years old. Do you play Madden still?
Not anymore really, but used to.
You used to. What's the last game that you purchased? And what console was it? Let me guess. PlayStation?
Xbox 360.
Xbox 360. Yeah. Xbox, I remember when I played Xbox, it was all about Halo. Is that still in? Yeah, Halo.
Well, I mean, now it is because the new one just came out.
Ah, I had no idea. See, I had no idea about that. I'm not even into video games. I used to play Halo. I used to play Metal. This is old. I don't know if you ever heard of Metal Gear Solid. It was an RPG game. Have you ever heard about that? Okay.
I have. Yep.
So there's a guy by the name of Snake.
I haven't
See,
played it,
I'm a
though.
nerd. Okay, I'm a nerd, dude, because I can talk about video games too. I used to play video games all day long. All right. So what else? What else do you know about John Madden? Before I go ahead and let you go, are you a Niner fan by chance?
No.
You're not. What's your favorite team?
Saints.
You're a Saints fan. Okay, you're a Saints fan here in the BWF. I like it. So what do you think? Let's talk about the Saints. What do you think about the Saints losing yesterday? I was surprised. I wasn't surprised that they lost. I was surprised in the way that they lost because the defense I thought did a great job, but I thought Ian Book would have done a lot more, especially when he had all that time to learn. But I know he's a third string quarterback, but I mean, I was kind of unimpressed by Ian Book. What was your impression of Ian Book in his first NFL debut?
Bruh, I am lagging so.
Okay, he was lagging. He was lagging. So he was lagging. I wanted to know what he had to say about Ian Book. Thank you so much, Tyler, for chiming in. 49er Dan says, "Rest in peace, John Madden." Yes. Robert Slavin says, "Rest in peace, Madden. Best game ever." It is a really good game. It is a really, really good game. Manish Bassey says, "Good evening, BWF. Rest in paradise, Coach Madden." Yeah, it's really sad. And here we are talking about the Madden series and what the impact that it had. I want to talk about my third thing. So we talked about Madden and EA Sports and why that was it's a staple of video games today. Unfortunately, it's a dubbed down product. But anybody who knows, it's not a surprise. It's a bunch of updated rosters, kind of like NFL Game Pass today. NFL Game Pass has been a dubbed down product. I talked about it with a lot of people internally, and they agree. If you guys don't have NFL Game Pass, it's not very good. But it is what it is, right? It's just updated games. And I said it before the season started, or actually, no, I said it during week 3 or when the NFL Game Pass came back. I said it's basically the Madden of coaches film, and I stand by that. But anyways, it is what it is. So we're talking about John Madden, Thanksgiving post game. All right, that's the thing that comes to my mind, and what are the top 5 things that comes to my mind? I posted it up on Twitter. And I remember, again, the Detroit Lions, Miami Dolphins, Dallas Cowboys. I remember that game with the Detroit Lions where they had a 3-headed monster, right? Before you needed a trio of wide receivers, you had a trio of wide receivers that Scott Mitchell can throw to, aside from Barry Sanders. And it was the likes of Herman Moore. So if you're watching, Herman Moore, one of the greatest receivers for the Detroit Lions ever. Aside from Calvin Johnson, obviously, he's the best of the best, Hall of Famer. But Herman Moore, before him, it was Herman Moore, number 84. Herman Moore, if you're watching, my man, we follow each other on Twitter. And if you're watching, giving you a shout out, Herman Moore. Herman Moore played alongside Brett Perriman. You guys remember Brett Perriman? And you guys are saying to yourselves, "Oh, man, Perriman sounds, that last name sounds familiar." Yeah, that's because his son, Brashad Perriman, plays for the Tampa Bay Bucks. He was actually a first-round pick out of UCF. Drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he was drafted number 22 overall. If I'm not mistaken, somewhere along those lines. I know he was drafted somewhere in the 20s, I want to say. But I think it was 22. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then they had another player by the name of Johnny Morton. You guys remember Johnny Morton? For you Niner fans, you guys should, because he played for the Niners. All right, Johnny Morton was there. And I remember during the halftime show, During Thanksgiving, John Madden was talking to him. They had the turducken. I had no idea what a turducken is. It's turkey and stuffed in a duck, or duck and stuffed in turkey. And they had these big old freaking legs, and they were just chomping on it during Thanksgiving. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's crazy. And then I remember they also had a guy by the name of Bryant Westbrook. Number 32 had a pick six, and he was also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is a long time ago. I'm talking 1990s. The 1990s, like late 90s, maybe 97, 98, definitely before 2000. And I remember this vividly. I remember Bryant Westbrook had a pick six, and I was like, man, I want to be like Bryant Westbrook. And then because he was eating that turkey, and John Madden was hyping, but oh man, you had that pick six, and it was ridiculously good, and you guys won. And it's like, oh man, like that's crazy. See, those are things I remember. The halftime show, not the halftime show, the post-game show was always fun on Thanksgiving with John Madden, because he always came out. And then, of course, you guys got to love his broadcasting, right? He came up with a boom, right? And that's where the Beast receipts come from. Every time I say boom on Twitter, it's because my Beast receipts check out. And I got that from Tough Actin' Tinactin' John Madden. He would always say boom on the broadcast, and then he used that boom in whatever he did. So whether it be commercials, making cameo appearances, which brings me to cameos. Little Giants. Little Giants was something I was watching for, I don't know, coincidentally, for 15 times. Like, it's probably like my 20th time watching it yesterday. Literally was on repeat. I love the Little Giants, and I had no idea why I was watching it. Maybe because it brought back memories back when I used to watch it when I was a kid. But if you guys haven't saw the movie Little Giants, John Madden's in there. Steve Ettman's in there. Guys are wondering who the heck is Steve Ettman. He's the number 1 overall pick, bust, coming out of Washington, but he was a defensive tackle. Played for them in that movie. Also, Bruce Smith was in there, number 78. You guys know who Bruce Smith is. If you guys don't know who Bruce Smith is, one of the greatest pass rushers of all time, number 78. You also had Emmitt Smith. Niner fans, you guys know who number 22 is, Deuce Deuce. If you guys don't know who Deuce Deuce is, and it's before your time, well, before the Ezekiel Elliott, before Tony Pollard were there. I wouldn't say Tony Pollard's in that category yet, but before Zeke Elliott, it was Emmitt Smith. And then you also had guys like in the movie Tim Brown. For all you Raiders fans, Tim Brown, who would argue that Tim Brown's better than Jerry Rice. I had that argument with my buddy down the street, who I grew up with, and who also played football, obviously. And he was a Raiders fan. So, oh, Tim Brown's better than Jerry Rice because he can return punts. I'm like, nah, dude. Jerry Rice could return punts. They just have John Taylor. And John Taylor would have been a Hall of Famer if Jerry Rice wasn't there. My opinion. I think John Taylor would have been, number 82, would have been a Hall of Famer had Jerry Rice not been there. And I think he would have had a Hall of Fame career. But unfortunately, Jerry Rice was there. I mean, you can't go. Yeah, John Taylor and Jerry Rice. Okay, cool. I'm happy with both. But that's for a different story and a different live stream. So without further ado, John Madden, great. I wish I met him in person. Never got to meet him in person. Only met him through TV, just like all of you guys, or most of you guys. But I remember him calling games with Pat Summerall, and obviously Al Michaels during the Super Bowl. And it was always lively, always fun and entertaining, always very insightful. I thought John Madden did a really good job of mixing and really gravitating and targeting the market and the market audience of the youth and the older generation, and then everything in between. He did a really good job on hitting all those demographics. And I don't know if there's never going to be another John Madden. Obviously, we have good announcers or good analysts today. You have Tony Romo. I think Greg Olson is good. I think Charles Davis is great. And there's a lot of others out there. But is there anyone going to be like a John Madden? I don't know. I mean, that remains to be seen. I'm never going to say never, but is anyone going to have a video game named after them and be like the staple or the foundation of all video games for simulated football games? I mean, is there a thing going to be called, have you played Tony Romo? People will be like, what? You know, the Romo Bowl, that video game. People are like, Romo Bowl? You think the Tecmo Bowl? You guys remember Tecmo Bowl? Anyways, whatever. We don't know. I mean, right? We don't know. Because John Madden was a player, then became a coach, and then became a broadcaster. That's 3 different layers of the onion to get to the core, as I always like to say. Very sad Very sad. And rest in peace to John Madden as you celebrate his life. Mark Duenas, my man. Me and Mark used to play football together in middle school and high school. He says, another legend gone. Rest in peace, coach. Thanks for the annex of Puerto Rico. Yes, if you guys don't know what the annexation of Puerto Rico is, it is a trick play that the Little Giants used, and they got that twist from John Madden. And John Madden, if you haven't seen the movie Little Giants, you need to do it. I'm telling you, Little Giants is one of those. It makes you want to play football. As a kid growing up, it's like, man, I want to play football. I can do that. And it's basically, I don't want to ruin it for you guys. If you guys haven't seen Little Giants, watch it. It's on Tubi. If you guys have Tubi, it's on Tubi. And if you guys have that, it's free. I think it's free. It's on Tubi. I've been watching it for the better half of the last 3 weeks. I'm not joking. By coincidence, I just love the movie Little Giants. We all know who Icebox is. Icebox, okay, well, I don't want to ruin it for you guys. But anyways. Royce Place says, met his personal bus driver here in the BDF in Fontana several months ago at Winswe. Just started to talk, and it was a pleasure talking to him. He told me how generous Madden was to him and his wife. Yeah. So for those who don't know, like I said, he grew up here in the Bay Area, right? He that's interesting. That's a great story to know that he was generous because not all celebrities are. I'm not going to name drop people, but there's people who, if you're a Niner fan, you guys respect, and they're just jerks. I know that because I seen it front hand. Trust me. Let's just put it this way. There is somebody on the 49ers Hall of Famer. Okay. My uncle installed his alarm system till this day. And the first and last impression that my uncle said was, wow, he's such an a-hole. I'm not going to go into details on what happened, but hey, there are people like that. So you can either be humble and kind and nice about it, or you can be, And it's not the first thing I heard about this player. There's been other incidents, and I personally have seen it firsthand covering the team. So I was like, okay. But it's good to hear that John Madden is not one of them. That's nice. Also good to know that people give T.O. Terrell Owens a bad rep. And I know Terrell Owens personally. But, so I might be a little bit biased here. But, people give him a bad rep. Oh, like he doesn't tip well. No, he tips really well, actually. Really well. He takes care of people too. So he used to tip the bus driver. In fact, I don't know how many. I'm sure there are people. But T.O. would always tip the bus driver really well. I'm talking hundreds. $100 bills. Benjamin Franklin's. And he really appreciated them. And he didn't think that... he always took care of people who took care of him. T.O. Manish Basi says, Ryan, do you remember NFL Blitz? That was an awesome game. Oh my gosh. NFL, yes. I had NFL Blitz. Yes. NFL Blitz is an arcade. Manish, thank you so much for tuning in. It's an arcade style. I'm very old, by the way. It's a... I'm revealing my age. I should play a game and put it on YouTube and say, reveal your age based on the game that you grew up playing. People be like, oh, Tecmo Bowl. I literally grew up playing Tecmo Bowl. If you guys don't know what Tecmo Bowl is, yeah, that's how old I am, bro. No, I'm joking. I didn't grow up playing Tecmo Bowl, but I did play it because everyone else that was before me loved Tecmo Bowl, and they said, you have to try Tecmo Bowl. And then once my mom, who used to work at Namco, if you guys don't know what Namco is, I used to go to E3 shows. If you guys are in video games, I used to go to all the E3 shows in high school, and we have arcades. Namco is the company that, if you guys know what Pac-Man is, obviously, or Galactica. Come on, who doesn't know what Galactica and Pac-Man? If you guys know, it's in every arcade today. Tekken, all right. So all these big names before they got bought out by Bandai, I believe. Where am I going with this? No, Tecmo. I used to play those games growing up. I shouldn't say growing up. I guess high school, you're kind of old. But I used to go back and play those games. I grew up on Madden. I grew up on Madden and NFL 2K. Those were the games that I grew up with. First, it was Madden, obviously, and then NFL 2K. Obviously, Game Day was in there. And then also NFL Blitz was also on there. NFL Blitz came out, I believe, in the 90s, right? The late 90s. I want to say 1996. And I forgot who was on the cover of the NFL Blitz. I think it was simulated 7-on-7, right? Or something like that. It wasn't simulated 7-on-7, and the guys were like half the size of the screen, and like a sack was like, oh man, I can't remember. It's been so long ago, But correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, NFL Blitz is basically the equivalent of basketball to what basketball is on what's that game? Gosh, come on! I was gonna say Space Jam, but that's not it. NBA Jam. NBA Jam. You guys remember NBA Jam? Well, NFL Blitz is equivalent for football as it is to basketball. NBA Jam. I can't believe we're going back in time here. Trent Payne from the BEASTwriter Family says Coach Madden went to Jefferson and Daly City, a true Bay Area legend. Yes, absolutely. Trent Payne also says still has the highest winning percentage, right? I believe so. And before I go on and talk more about it, my microphone craps out. So if it's staticky, you guys got to let me know and give me a heads up. Be like, just leave a comment like Trent is and Manish is and Roy is. And if you're watching, just let me know that it's staticky so I can kind of take it out and push it back in and everything will be okay. Because I don't know. I'm doing this live. So on your end, if you're hearing any type of static, let me know. But yeah, a lot of video games. Let's get back on it. We can talk about football. We can talk about Madden. If you guys are just tuning in, John Madden had passed away at the age of 85. Grew up in Pleasanton. I believe he lived in the Blackhawk district, which is, where all the rich people are at. No, it is a rich suburb. But I actually used to live in San Ramon. I used to go down to Blackhawk and be like, dang, maybe one day. I thought San Ramon was the life. And then I was like, that's nothing compared to Blackhawk. But yeah. I used to talk to my boy Cam Inman, who covers the 49ers. And I used to talk to him about stories, how I used to live in San Ramon. He obviously was in Pleasanton. And we were like, dude, Blackhawk. And I was like, man, Pleasanton's nice. He's like, oh, yeah, it's really nice. And then he's like, San Ramon's nice. I was like, yeah, it's nice. But the commute, geez Louise, that commute was horrible. 680's bad. 680's bad. Anyways, you guys all know what I'm talking about. If you guys live there and had to make that commute, it's horrible. All right. Trent Payne says, yep, I know people who moved T.O. They said he tipped good. See, I'm not lying. I'm not making this stuff up. I am not making this stuff up. T.O. is a good tipper. And I know this person. He's a good tipper. All right, Manish Bossy says, I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much, Manish. I appreciate it. You can hear me loud and clear now, but I guarantee you, once we hit like 45 minutes in the next 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so, somewhere in that range, it's going to go crap. And then you guys got to let me when it goes crap-tola. And when it goes crap-tola, then I can readjust it. I can audible to a different play, and then we can get back on track and run the scripted 15 plays of playbook that we have right here, like the West Coast offense and Bill Walsh. But no, in all seriousness, let me know if it craps out, because it craps out a lot. And I'm trying to save money here on YouTube from all the super chat and super stickers so I can get a better mic. So if you guys want to support me and want to send me a super chat and super sticker, I would really appreciate it. And if not, all good. All good. I'm not saying, hey, you have to pay me. No. But what you can do that's free is give me a thumbs up. So if you like what I have to say as you're watching this live stream, give it a thumbs up and give it a share. That way it goes viral. If you're on Twitter, if you're on Twitch, if you're on any of these outlets and you want to share this, or on Facebook, be sure to give it a thumbs up and at least share. That takes 1 second, literally 2 seconds. One button to push a like and one retweet. That's like 2.5 seconds. That's like a quarterback dropping back for a pass. All right. So no excuses. All about results. I'm joking, but no. In all honesty, Duck Kitchen said, "Rest in peace, legend John Madden." Yes. It is interesting. And again, if you guys want to tune in on YouTube, there is a direct link for you guys to call in. We can talk football, like Tyler did earlier on, who was a Saints fan. I had no idea that he was a Saints fan. He had actually a Niner colored, he had a red hat on, so I just assumed that he was a Niner fan. Cool that he's a Saints fan. And here we are talking about the Saints. I'm going to talk about the Saints a little bit. Let's transition, because as we keep things hot here in the BWF, people are sending me DMs on what's going on with the New Orleans Saints. And hey, look, the over-under was set at, I believe it was at 36.5 or 37 when the game started. And I said I would take the under, but I don't like that. I don't know. I thought the Saints would score a lot more than what they did. You guys saw the game unfold, and it covered. So no way I was going to pick the over. If I was to pick the over, you always go the under especially when you have two backup tackles, Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead out, and then you have a third string freaking quarterback out there. You know, Simeon's out, and obviously Jameis Winston's out, and you're looking at it and like, man, Taysom Hill. Nope, sorry. So now down to your fourth string, technically your fourth string quarterback, who's on the not even on the scout team. I guess you would consider him on the scout team, I guess. Anyways. Yeah, I thought Alvin Kamara would hit on his prop bet of the number of catches he would get and receiving yards he would get coming out of the flat. And I don't remember what that number. I think it was 6.5 catches. I want to say it was 6.5 catches. I think it was over under on the receiving yards. I forgot what that was, but yeah, if you guys are into prop bets and those types of deals, if there was a prop bet for Cam Jordan getting 2 sacks, I did not see that one coming. I didn't see that one coming at all. So anyways, drop your comments and let's talk football. If you guys want to tune in here, I'm just going to open it up for questions. I know you guys have a lot. Here is the link. If you guys are watching on Twitter, you guys can just go ahead and open that link in a new web browser and then chime in. And this is a live call-in show. Otherwise, if you guys are just tuning in, or if you guys want more questions answered as it pertains to whatever subject you want to talk about or your favorite team, feel free to go ahead and let me know. I'm going to go ahead and get to some of those questions over on Twitter. And again, if it's staticky, please let me know. Please let me know if it's staticky, because that's not good. All right. Okay, so let's get to some of your questions. A lot of questions here. I have to toggle between back and forth. Let me start on Instagram. I started on Twitter. Let me just start on Instagram. Got some questions. John Madden. We got some John Madden questions. John Madden in the Madden series brings good vibes. I remember playing that with my cousin growing up too. Oh, interesting. Everyone plays John Madden. Everyone plays Madden. I remember Madden was one of those games you just had to play. And I wish NFL 2K was still around. It's not, but if they made a fictional game, I would be down for it, and I'd be supporting it 110%, because NFL 2K kicked ass, kicked booty, kicked behind. All right, so get some of your questions here. That was more of a comment and analysis. Here's another one. Okay, Trey Lance. If Trey Lance starts, how do you see him performing? Well, I broke that down in earlier live stream today, so be sure to check that out after this one. I don't want to double dip and talk about that again, but I will say that they're just going to have to run the ball. I mean, save Trey Lance, protect him, use your security blanket, give him easy checkdowns, give him easy high-low route concepts so he's not having to scan the whole entire field. Make sure that you run naked bootlegs, take advantage of his legs and his athleticism. What you want to do is you want to run outside. I'm just going to tell you. Run outside zone runs, right? Stretch the defense horizontally. From there, it opens the play action. Make sure you establish the run first, because if you don't establish the run, it's all for naught, because it doesn't open the play action pass, and now he's going to be deer in the headlights. You don't want that. You don't want that. So that's what I would do. Whether Elijah Mitchell can go or not, establish the run. Get 175 yards rushing as a unit. Use Kyle Juszczyk on wheel routes. Use him on sift block motions. Use George Kittle, where he used to leak as a lead blocker, and then fakes like he's diving at players' legs and then gets back up and then rolls out and becomes a receiving threat. These are things that I look for. Right? So, anyways, that's all for that. And a lot of different things there. Well, all right, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Oh, we got more questions. Never mind. Just joking. Just joking. We got another question. Hope that answered your Trey Lance question. And that question, here's the next question. On Instagram. I need to check my Instagram DMs more often. Although I don't. I rarely go on Instagram other than posting my fitspirational posts. But anyways, here we are. Okay. He asks, in your BWF grading system, what do you look for in terms of your boundary cornerback? Well, okay, that's a good question. That's a loaded question, actually, but it's a good question. What I look for is fundamentals, right? And I talked to, and here's another one on YouTube. Let me get to the boundary cornerback first. When I look for the boundary cornerback, I look at how they play their techniques, and it comes down to fundamentals, just like with any position, right? For instance, if you're a good pass rusher, are you good in run fit to integrity? In fact, I talked to one NFL coach yesterday, and we talked about this. And he said, "Hey, you have a BWF grading system. I want to know more about it because you know your stuff. We talk all the time." And he says, "Well, what do you think about this player?" So he kind of like he has his own analysis, and he try, dude, and try to cross check me. Well, what do you think about that? Like, bro, you already know what you think. You just want to know what I think. He's like, "Yeah, what do you think? What does your BWF grades say?" And I was like, "Oh, this is what I say." And he's like, "Oh, well, you're actually right. You're not wrong." And he said, "It's funny that you have that line of thinking because I had this argument or debate with another positional coach, and we argued about it. And I told him, like, look, have you seen BWF grades?" Unjokingly, he's like, "Have you checked out BWF grades?" And he's like, "Well, he PFF." And he's like, "Oh, have you checked BWF grades on that?" Listen, the player that was brought up, whatever, Eric Armstead. And so people were saying, you know, how is he and run fit integrity versus the pass rush? And I was like, he's not very good at both. And so here we are today, and he's like, "Well, what do you think? What do you think's the problem?" And literally the coach was like, "Yeah, you know, they shouldn't have got rid of DeForest Buckner. That was the biggest mistake." And I was like, "Bro, what'd I tell you?" I was like, "What'd I tell you?" And everyone was saying, "Oh, Javon Kinlaw was it?" He's like, "Dude, you hit that one right on the nail." And he said they should never have done that. Like, you don't let that kind of leader out the door. Here we are still talking about DeForest Buckner, but the impact that he has on that Colts defense is amazing. And then you bring down, and we also talk about Jimmy Garoppolo on the earlier live stream and how Danico Autry really hurt Jimmy Garoppolo and that injury and that on that hit. And for those who don't know, Danico Autry actually came from the Indianapolis Colts and played with DeForest Buckner last year before signing that deal with the Tennessee Titans this year. And so you're playing a game of musical chairs here, and we can talk about all the NFL teams, but you know, you look at players around the league, and when it comes to the boundary quarterback, I look at fundamentals. You know, do they play with sound technique off the line of scrimmage? Do they open their hips up too early? How do they play in down and distance? Do they give up too much of a cushion? And if they're in a trail mode, once they are in that position, do they make a play on the ball at the catch point? And do they use proper fundamentals to make that play? Aside from that, you look at the cover shells, you look at the rules of engagement based on recency bias, and also how these coaches are coaching up their players, again, based on down and distance, based on technique. You're playing with outside or inside leverage, leveraging your splits. All this goes into account on one single play. So imagine doing this times 75 times in a game and times that by 17 games in a season. It's a lot of film, but hey, it's all worth it. And so that's why I say the question was asked, you know, who's the best cornerback in the game? I said, you know, Tre'Davious White was up there before he tore his ACL, right, on Thanksgiving. Prayers up to Tre'Davious White. He's one of the best in the game. But, you know, when it comes down to it, Jalen Ramsey is one, J.C. Jackson, and Pat Surtain. Those three names still pop up. And it's funny how Pat Surtain is voted by, or not voted, but ranked by PFF in the 60s. And basically the same as James Pierre was at the time. And I was like, nah, man, how's that possible? And then James Pierre's bench, and then Pat Surtain still playing, got a first-team All-Pro level. So, yeah, Pat Surtain up there, playing sound, disciplined football. He did get beat deep. I believe, off the top of my head, I think he got beat on a double move. He gets beat on double moves quite often. I mean, quite often. It's not like it's, once a game. It's like, it happens from once every 5-6 games, right? It only happened like a handful of times. But he did get beat. I remember off the top of my head on one route, I think it was against his own teammate, Devonta Smith. And he beat him. I believe it was a double move outside. And that's one of the things I looked for in my scouting report when I was scouting them back in 2019 for Hot Mike. And I was running college film and watching game film and starting that. And I was talking about, well, go look on my Beast receipts, right? I check it out. I said that Pat Surtain was the truth. I think he's the most fundamentally sound cornerback to come out of the draft since Ahmed Plummer. That's something that I saw back then. And that's something that I still see today. He's very sound, displays patient feet. He doesn't open his hips up too early. So when you do that, you see a cornerback get giddy. You know, when they get giddy, hey, then the wide receiver has you off the because what you're doing is when you talk about leveraging your split, you want to say, are you playing half man, right? Are you giving them half man? And if you're playing with, like, for instance, I talked about with Ambry Thomas, you know, why would you want to play with a press bail technique? Okay, but with inside leverage, you're supposed to play that with outside leverage with your back to the boundary, looking through the receiver to the quarterback. Instead, when you do that and then you play with inside leverage and then you get beat on the same play, both inside and outside leveraged, and then back inside, it's like, what are you doing? That's fundamentals 101, and that's the things that I look for. And so aside from knowing the cover shell and the rules of engagement, you have to know how you're supposed to play the technique, whether it's press man, press zone, off man, off zone. You have to know what to do. You have to know what to look for. You have to know how to jam the receiver off the line of scrimmage, right? These are all things you look for. So not going to show you my algorithm, obviously, but those are things I look for in one single snap. Now multiply that, again, times how many plays in a game, times 17 games in a year, and you have a lot of film to go off of. LL, play. Okay, do you think Trey playing for the rest of the year or Jimmy can come back? A, if Trey Lance goes 2-0, how can you not ride that hot hand? I don't know. If Trey goes 2-0, how can you not ride that hot hand? I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Brian King says, what's up, Brian? What's going on, Brian? I see you. LS says, facts. Losing defensive back was big. Yep. Yeah. You have to go get a defensive back. The Niners, they didn't do it. They should have went after Asante Samuel Jr. in real time, not in hindsight. Everyone in hindsight said, oh, we should have went after. It's like, bro, when I was doing this live stream as the draft unfolded, I said it. And now people are piggybacking on it. And I was like, nah, man. Y'all thought Aaron Banks was the truth because y'all listened to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. And I said, nah, he's more tailored based for a power-based run scheme. He's going to be a healthy scratch. Here we are today. Telling you. And then when they drafted Ambry Thomas and Dylan Lenore, I was like, nah, I don't like those guys because of fundamentals. Now, fundamentals can be coached up at the NFL level because any NFL coach will tell you this. We can get the best out of the player and we can coach him up to what we want him to do. But at the end of the day, it's like, nah, man, that's true. That's true. But like, for instance, Rashard Robinson. You guys remember Rashard Robinson? The praying mantis? The guy who reminded me a lot of, in the day, of, what's that player's name? Gosh, I'm drawing a blank. It's not Dwayne Starks. It's the other Samari Rolle. You guys remember Samari Rolle for the Tennessee Titans and the Baltimore Ravens? You guys don't remember him? I'm going way back here. Thanks to Madden, I remember this stuff because I played Madden. And I used to watch football, obviously, too. But Samari Rolle, I think he came out of Florida State, if I'm not mistaken. And he also wore number 21. Anyways, that guy had the same similar frame as Rashard Robinson. I was like, man, this guy's going to be good. You know, coming out of LSU. And this guy can really do some damage. And people thought what Rashard Robinson was, hey, then we had Akilla Witherspoon. I was like, oh, man, I see a similar type of player. I think these guys have this critical factors to really shine. And here we are with Akilla Witherspoon. Rashard Robinson kind of bounced around the league. But but it comes to Akilla Witherspoon, goes to the Seattle Seahawks, then gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now doing hell of a job in place of James Pierre for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And people are like, oh, no one knew Akilla Witherspoon was going to be good in Pittsburgh. I was like, this guy did. And the BWF did. Beast receipt checks out. Look, you got to look at the critical factors, but you also have to look at it from a scheme standpoint. Does this guy fit your scheme? If you run a cover 1 or a cover 3 shell, can he play those respective zone coverages to the best of your ability based on what you're asking him to do? And again, just like a power-based run scheme versus zone-based run scheme, you have to talk about the schemes, because if the guy is not a scheme fit, you cannot coach him up to be something he's not. In fact, I would double down on those games and talk about body analysis. We've seen it with GM Ryan Pace. When he drafted Leonard Floyd, who now is with the LA Rams, when he drafted Leonard Floyd out of Georgia, he talked about body analysis and how he had to get bigger. Well, when you do that, now you're jeopardizing speed. So it comes down to conversion of the speed to power topic that we talk about on earlier live streams. But aside from the conversion of speed to power, and you talk about get off and how this guy has a quick first step and how he uses his violent hands, if he has violent hands, or if he uses a swim move to backdoor the play and kind of make a play behind the line of scrimmage, you really have to understand, can he carry that weight? Because just because you can bulk up a guy to, let's say, a guy comes in at 238, right? There'll be a lot of linebackers coming in at 238. Any guy, when you have a strength coach, I think it's up to the strength coach to say, hey, look, if we add 200, get this guy to around 250, 238 to 250, that's a 12-pound difference. You have to look at, I guess you can take into account the BMI, the body mass index, but that's kind of You want to take into account the body fat. If you can get this guy at a certain body fat percentage where he's bulking up but not gaining so much weight where he's going to compromise his speed, then we have something to work with based on what we're asking him to do. simply asking a guy like Ronald Blair, and Chip Kelly was notorious for doing this, is playing a 34 base defense when you have a 4-3 man front personnel. I mean, really asking Tate Carradine to play outside linebacker, really asking Ronald Blair, who at the time being a 5th round pick out of Appalachian State, was the strongest guy at the combine. I think he repped out like 38 reps at the combine, maybe not 38, 35, somewhere in there, 33 at the combine. To put that in perspective, my highest was 22, right? But Ronald Blair freaking pounding it out, man. And then you kind of convert him, a guy who can play a 0 technique, a 1 or a 3 technique, and then you kind of convert him not a 4 technique defensive end. No, you want to convert him to an outside linebacker in a 34 base defense, and you hit him body analysis. That's a lot to ask. Now he's Megatron, and gave him the nickname Optimus Prime, and he's Megatron's kryptonite, and he liked that nickname, Super Blair. And so anytime we talked about that, and I say, hey man, they're hitting you with body analysis, bro. He's like, dude, you're not kidding. We'd be in the locker room talking about it, and I'd be like, man. I was like, how you feeling? He's like, man, well, I feel lighter. Like, obviously you feel lighter. But yeah, then you have Tate Carradine, right? Drafted out of Florida State. You guys remember Tate Carradine for the 49ers, drafted out of Florida State? I think they traded back from 34 to 40, and the Tennessee Titans picked up, I believe it was Justin Hunter, if I'm not mistaken, wide receiver out of Tennessee. And the Niners went ahead and dropped 6 spots to number 40 from 34 and picked up Tate Carradine, and then they hit him with body analysis as a 3-4 outside linebacker with the new regime that came in. Again, if you have a new regime that comes in, you're really going to have to know the differences between what kind of scheme you want to run. You can't just run a 34 base defense if you don't have the 4-3 personnel to do it. But just like if vice versa. So you can't run both systems and be like, oh yeah, man, like, well, I don't care what they want. The coaches have to adapt to the players, not the other way around. Because if the players try to adapt to the coaches and they don't have the personnel to do that, then it's like, nah, man, that's not working. All right. CNAT says, fantasy football playoffs beast. Will Ayuk disappear week 17? I don't know if Ayuk will disappear week 17, but again, if Trey Lance starts, hey, I have Ayuk on my fantasy football team. Look, I tweeted this out. It's another beast receipt checks out. I had Kill and Ayuk, and I said, you know what? When people were sending me trade offers, and this was before the season began, and I was like, I'm holding on to Kittle and Ayuk for a reason. I'm holding on to those 2 players because what I'm hearing, well, maybe because I have an inside track, but whatever, inside info, it's whatever. It's not really inside info, is it? I don't know. But I held on to the Bears. I drafted him for a reason. I was like, dude, Ayuk can kill. Give it to me. Give it to me. Ayuk, to me, I'm banking on him to have a wild card type of a game. I mean, here we are in the championship, right? This is most teams' championship and championship game if you play fantasy football. Obviously, I don't think anybody plays week 18. If you play week 18, that's kind of like, man, you should probably get out of that league because a lot of players are probably not going to be playing if they hit their bye week, although this season is an anomaly because everyone's in the playoff race theoretically, or not theoretically, but it seems that way, right? I don't think, here we are going into week 17, and there's like every team outside of the Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Chicago Bears, and a few others that are out of it. So with that being said, yeah, I guess you could have a week 18 championship game, but get a new what do you call it? Get a new fancy commissioner running it. But will Ayuk disappear in week 17? No, I don't think he's going to disappear. I think they're going to use Ayuk simply because it's Brandon Ayuk, and I need him to. So will he disappear? I don't think he'll disappear. I think he'll probably get his target share. Now, will it be accurate target share? That's a different story if Trey Lance starts. But again, look at who the Houston Texans have. I talked about this on the earlier live stream that I did earlier on today. I don't think, like, when you have guys like Jacob Martin, obviously they have Jonathan Greener there, and I like Camu, Grugier, or Hill, KMG, right? KGH. I don't know where I came. KGH. When you have guys like that, yeah, you have some solid players there. And Houston Texans, man, even though they didn't have, I mean, they were going against a beaten team, obviously. A lot of guys had COVID and they weren't playing and they were out. But with that being said, the Houston Texans came out, and on any given Sunday, anything can happen. But I just don't see that happening. I mean, it could happen. I could be wrong, but I think that Brandon Ayuk is going to be fine. I think he's going to have, gosh, it's hard to say. You have Reed back there off the top of my head. Who else do you have back there? Who are the safeties? Gosh, I just talked about this earlier today. I looked it up. Gosh, who was the guy? They got a journeyman safety back there. I should know this. I should know this. I should know this. Anytime I think of the Houston Texans, I think of Vernon Hargreaves, but he's not even on the team. But who do they have? Let me look. Let me look. I did a stream on it earlier talking about their secondary woes. But yeah, it is what it is. I just don't see them really making. Yeah, there you go, Eric Murray. Eric Murray, Desmond King the second, who was obviously an All-Pro while with the LA Chargers. And then you have Terrence Mitchell and Tavir Thomas, really. Like Lonnie Johnson Jr., I liked him coming out of college. Thought the Niners should have been in the market for him, trading up in the tail end of the second round and possibly getting him because defensive backs were flying off the board. If you guys know what I had to say in my real-time analysis on that a couple years ago, you guys can check that out. But yeah, I think Brandon Ayuk is going to be fine. I think Brandon Ayuk is going to be fine. Now, as far as how many catches and receiving yards he's going to have, that all depends on who's going to be the starting quarterback. We don't know that yet. Although I do think it's going to be Trey Lance at the end of the day. I mean, how can you throw a football if your thumb's freaking messed up? I just don't see it happening. And if you are healthy, were you going to put a splint on your thumb, on the throwing thumb? Like, try dribbling a basketball. I tried. When I played basketball, I had a broken or a fractured thumb, dislocated thumb, fractured thumb, whatever the case may be, whatever. And try dribbling a basketball with a freaking splint on it. No. And then you have to put what's considered a soft cast on it. A soft cast is not a splint, so you take off the metal part and it's a soft cast around it and just wrap that area. And then try dribbling a ball like that or catching a ball like that. It's tough. So imagine throwing a freaking football accurate, where I never played quarterback, but I can only imagine. I mean, just picking up a water bottle or a hydro flask is going to be tough. I mean, just doing daily chores is going to be hard. So I don't know if it's going to be. It'd be hard for me to believe that Jimmy Garoppolo can actually play. I think that's just all smoke. But and watch, here we are on Tuesday, and then all of a sudden, BEASTwriter said Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't throw a football, and all of a sudden he's starting. Okay, so I get one wrong. Okay, track record speaks for itself. Okay, I get one wrong. I know you guys have the expectation of me getting everything right, but no one is God. So if I get it wrong, hey, that's one wrong. Finally got one wrong. Boo-hoo. But I just don't see it happening. And if he is playing, I think that's a mistake because, again, not only are you catching the football behind center in the shotgun formation, that's going to be hard in itself. You're really limiting what you can do on those deeper throws. In the NFL, even though a guy may look covered, he may not be covered because you have guys like Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle can open up a bigger catching radius than what is seen. But at the end of the day, it's almost like, can he throw it in that tight window? I don't know. I have no idea. Anyways, that'll be it for this live stream. I hope you liked what I had to say. If you did, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen as you stay up to date on all things Beast in real time. Also, if you like what I had to say, give it a thumbs up. As we always do here in the BWF, it would do me a huge solid. And again, if you're just watching this, be sure to go back and rewind, and you can watch the whole entire thing as I end this video. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Taco Tuesday. We did a double header. It was fun. But that's it for today. More tomorrow. Take care. BEASTwriter out.